So here is the continuation of individual psychology by Alfred Adler. The applications of individual psychology are divided into four. First is the family constellation. Although people's perception of the situation into which they are born is more important than numerical rank, Adler did form some general hypotheses about birth order. Adler used the term family constellation as a structure to describe each member's niche within the family system. He noted that the family constellation consisted of parents, children, and any extended family members. Adler emphasizes that birth order in this constellation influences a person's lifestyle choices. Within the constellation, a child defines self in relation to other children and how the self is different from or the same as others in the family. So, this is the birth order. And according kay Adler, these are the possible traits daw ng mga oldest child, second child, youngest child, and the only child. So, itong mga possible traits na nabubuo are based sa treatments ng parents and sa subjective perception ng mga bata. The way that the parents are hands-on on different phases of family planning affects the way they give attention and care to the children. Therefore, yung interpretation din ng children's are very own unique in their own way in every birth order. Next is the early recollection. Refers to recalled memories that yield clues for understanding both patients' final goal and their present style of life. Recollections of early experiences are shaped by present style of life, not by childhood experiences. As mentioned, personality is consistent. Yung mga early recollections, it is not about the validity of the memory, kung totoo bang nangyari yung memory na yun, but the memory that they choose to remember despite sa mga nangyari sa kanila and because it holds meaning to them. And also, those earlier memories daw can help the person in choosing career. If you want to know your career daw, look back on your childhood and kung ano yung mga ginagawa nyo noon na nag enjoy kayo, kasi usually daw na yung mga memory na yun is pinili nyo dahil yun yung consistent sa personality nyo. So, early recollections is a tool for a therapist to know more the lifestyle of a person. Next is the dreams. Although dreams cannot foretell the future, they can provide clues for solving future problems. Ang understanding ni Adler sa individual's dreams, daydreams, and fantasies inhere in the unity of the personality, and therefore that only by considering dreams as one of the expressions of the style of life may an adequate interpretation of them be found. Dreams serve a problem-solving function by moving the individual toward solutions, operating as a bridge that connects the problem which confronts the dreamer. So last is the psychotherapy. Sa psychotherapy, sabi nga ni Adler, kapag nagkaroon ng abnormal development, ibig sabihin walang social interest yung tao. So para sa psychotherapy ng individual psychology, tuturuan yung client na magkaroon ng social interest and through the use of humor and warmth, Adler tried to increase the patient's courage, self-esteem, and social interest, especially the self-esteem affects the way we look at things, especially ourselves. So, ang psychotherapy of Adler, parang pinapataas niya yung self-esteem ng tao so that magbabago yung paningin natin sa mga bagay-bagay, especially about sa sarili natin. Although Adler was quite active in setting the goal and direction of psychotherapy, he maintained a friendly and permissive attitude toward the parents. So si Adler is mas friendly sa therapy compared kay Freud na very analytical, confront, confrontative, com- confrontative and distant. And here's the concept of humanity by Alfred Adler. So Adler stresses social psychology and a positive view of human nature. He views human beings as being influenced more by social than by biological forces. People are in control of their fate, not victims of it. Individuals create a distinctive lifestyle at an early age rather than being merely shaped by childhood experiences. This lifestyle tends to remain relatively constant and defines one's beliefs about life and ways of dealing with tasks. And that's all for Individual Psychology by Alfred Adler. And thank you for listening.
Good day, everyone. I'm Erichelle Anandiape, and I am here to tackle the analytical psychology, which is also known as the Jungian analysis or the Jungian theory that was made by Carl Gustav Jung. So, the past theories that we tackle, kung natatandaan natin, si Freud ay naniniwala na our past experiences can mold our personalities, while ang sabi naman ni Adler na yung behavior and personalities natin ay actually nakabase sa goal na sineset natin sa buhay natin or ito yung mga future goals na sineset natin. Sinabi din ni Freud na uh, we are controlled by our unconscious thoughts and wala tayong magagawa doon. We can't control it. Pero dinebunk yun ni Adler, which he said na we are conscious people na meron tayong magagawa kapag gusto nating magbago. And ang sabi naman ni Jung, why not both? Bakit hindi natin sila pagsamahin? So this analytical psychology, masasabi nating yung theory na to is nasa gitna both ng theory ni Freud and ni Adler. So to start the overview of this theory, Carl Jung believes na yung mga occult phenomena daw or ito yung mga supernatural phenomena na hindi na ma-explain ng science kung paano nangyayari ay kayang maka-impluwensya or affects our personality. So, though kung mapapansin nyo, yung name ng theory na to, which is the analytical theory, ay salungat sa nilalaman or yung belief ng theory na to. Kasi 'di ba analytical siya. Pero bakit merong supernatural beliefs na kasama? So parang nagko-contradict siya. So dito nyo actually makikita yung ah, theme ng duality hindi lamang sa theory ni Carl Jung, kundi pati na din sa kanyang personal life as he grows old. So, this theory includes the concept of the collective unconscious. Yung collective unconscious, ito daw yung mga inherited emotions na namamana pa daw natin from our ancestors or sa ating mga kaninu-ninunuan. So, we also have the archetypes and the self-individuation or ang self-realization. So, kung kay Adler, ang goal ay to achieve success, si Carl Jung naman believes na ang ating goal ay uh, to achieve our the highest form of ourself or highest form of our personality. So, sinasabi din ni Jung sa theory na to na people are both introverted and extroverted, both rational and irrational. We have the male sides and female sides. We have the conscious and unconscious, just like kila Freud and kay Adler. And we are influenced by past events while we are also being pulled by our future expectations sa ating buhay. So, dito pa lang sa overview, makikita nyo na yung theme ng duality sa theory na to. And as we go on further, makikita nyo din yung theme ng duality sa paglaki ni Carl Jung. So, for a little background sa buhay ni Jung, Carl Gustav Jung is a psychoanalyst and was born, raised, and based sa isang town sa Switzerland. So, yung both sides ng family ni Jung ay actually religious and medicine related. Yung family niya sa mother side ay merong tradition or belief in spiritualism and mysticism. So, and meron yung actually yung grandfather niya sa mother side, yung maternal grandfather niya is actually known to communicate or have the ability to talk to spirits or mga kaluluwa. So the young Carl Jung described his father as an idealist with a strong doubt in his faith, while yung mother niya naman, describe niya na meron daw two personality or two types yung personality ng nanay niya, which is the realistic and mystical side. So yung realistic side, ito yung rational side ng mother niya, while yung mystical side is the irrational side ng mother niya. Then, later on, nung nag-grow na si Jung, na-discover niya na sa sarili niya din, meron siyang two sides ng personality. At tinawag niya itong personality 1 and personality 2. So, si personality 1, ito daw yung extroverted side ni Carl Jung. So, yung extroverted side na to focuses sa more on external world or objective yung perspective. While yung personality 2 naman, ito yung introverted side ni Carl Jung na nagfo-focus naman sa more on internal world or more on subjective yung perspective niya. And then, Jung and Freud were actually best friends before. So, uh, they have an intellectual relationship where they actually talked for 13 hours straight nung una silang nagkita. And then later on, kinonfess ni Carl Jung na nagkaroon siya ng religious crush kay Freud before. So, yung religious crush, siguro yung minimin niya is na parang winnership niya na or parang winnership niya na before si Freud and yung beliefs ni Freud. So, and Freud actually, believe na magiging successor niya si Carl Jung na and Carl Jung was actually named as the crown prince ng psychoanalysis ni Freud, but eventually, unfortunately, they broke up their friendship, so naghiwalay sila. Siguro merong time na yung intellectual relationship nila ay nawala na lang bigla and parang hindi na nagtutugma yung concepts and yung kanilang mga theories. So, nagkaroon ng mistress or affair si Jung with a woman named Toni Wolff, and he also had an affair with sa client niya. So, sinasabi na yung kaya daw nagka-affair si Jung is because of his two personalities. So, sinasabing ah yung wife niya is for the other personality, while yung affair niya naman ay para sa isa pang personality niya na hindi natitim. So, for the basic assumptions of this theory, yung assumption ng theory ng analytical psychology is that each individual is motivated hindi lamang ng ating repressed experiences na tulad ng sinasabi ni Freud, but we are also motivated by certain emotionally toned experiences na namamana natin from our ancestors. So, dito na pumapasok yung occult phenomena na nabanggit kanina. So, yung actually believe na yung mga inherited images na nare-receive natin ay siyang bumubuo ng ating collective unconscious. At itong mga collective unconscious na to, hindi natin siya directly na experience. Ito ay actually experiences ng ating mga ancestors that have come down to us. So, mamaya as we go on further, mas malalaman natin kung ano nga ba yung collective unconscious at paano natin ito nakukuha. So, let us continue sa terms and concepts ng analytical psychology. So, kagaya ni Freud, binase din ni Carl Jung yung kanyang personality theory sa assumption na our mind or yung human psyche has both conscious and unconscious level. Yun nga lang, pinagkaiba nila, naniniwala si Jung na yung mga importanteng portion ng ating unconscious ay hindi galing sa ating personal experiences. Sila ay galing sa mga distant past ng human existence or yung ating mga ancestors. So let us now know first yung levels of psyche sa analytical psychology. First, we have the conscious. So according to Jung, conscious images are those that are sensed by the ego, whereas yung unconscious elements have no relationship with the ego. So, yung conscious is sinasabing waypoint from the external world to our internal world. And yung ego naman is yung uh, ating communication sa external world. So, siya yung kumukuha ng information para i-internalize ng conscious. So, kung si Freud ay naniniwala na ang ego is the center of our personality, ang sabi naman ni Carl Jung, yung ego is just the center of our consciousness but not the core of our personality. uh, uh, Naniniwala si Jung na yung ego is not the whole personality but must be completed by the more comprehensive self, the center of personality that is unconscious. Naniniwala si Jung na yung center ng ating personality, which is the self, is largely unconscious. So, sinasabi din dito na yung psychologically healthy individuals are in contact with their conscious world or in their reality. They are grounded sa reality. But they also allow themselves to experience their unconscious self and thus to achieve the individuation or yung self-realization na matatakal pa natin later on. Next, we have the personal unconscious. So, just like sa unconscious ni Freud, yung unconscious din ni Carl Jung dito are also repressed experiences. Pero, yun nga lang, wala siyang id, ego, and superego like kay Freud. Yung personal unconscious is more on complexes yung yung content niya. So, sinasabi na personal ego rejects personal unconscious because of various reasons kagaya ng ito ay too distressing or di naman kaya ay experiences that are deemed insignificant sa buhay ng tao. So sinasabi na complexes is an emotionally toned conglomeration of associated ideas. And it is also said that the complexes are the core pattern of emotions, memories, and perceptions nating mga tao. So sinabi din ni Jung na yung mga complexes daw ay parang mga nodes wherein dito nagfo-form yung ideas and thoughts natin about a certain subject. Yung main example ni Jung ng complexes is yung mother complex. So, yung ipagpalagay natin na yung mother complex is yung own idea natin and perception na kung ano ba dapat yung characteristics ng mother based sa na-experience natin growing up. So, for example, I grew up having a loving, nurturing, caring, and warm mother. So, yun yung idea ko about sa mother. And, and, uh, and then I discovered pala na there are mothers na hindi kagaya ng mother ko. So, parang it will trigger something within me na it will trigger my consciousness na, hindi pala lahat ng mother is like my mother. Hindi pala lahat tayo pare-parehas ng mother complexes kasi hindi tayo magkakaparehas ng nanay and hindi tayo magkakaparehas ng experiences towards our mother. So, itong mother complex ay merong two types, yung positive mother complex and the negative mother complex. So, an example ko sa akin is type ng positive mother complex. While yung negative mother complex naman is ito yung aspect na nag-involve sa unresolved conflicts, anxieties, or negative associated with the mother figure sa buhay natin. So this can result from experiencing ng na neglect ka nung bata ka, yung overprotected ka, or other issues during your childhood na revolving sa yung mother. So, sinasabing individuals with a negative mother complex may struggle with feelings of inadequacy, dependency, or rebellion. So, itong mga complexes natin do impact on our relationship. So, nakaka-influence siya sa mga relationship natin. Sa mga relationship natin ngayon or sa mga relationship na mabubuo pa sa buhay natin. So, for example, yung sa'kin, yung positive mother complex, I may seek nurturing and supportive qualities sa magiging partner ko, while yung meron namang mga negative mother complexes might struggle with trust issues or fear of abandonment. But it is important to note na Jung's theories are subjective and based on his own observations and interpretations. So, etong analytical psychology, yun nga, salungat siya sa pangalan niya. It is more subjective, hindi siya logical. So the mother complex is just one aspect of his broader framework for understanding the human psyche and the personal and development. So now, dito na tayo sa last level ng ating psyche, the collective unconscious. So, in contrast naman siya sa personal unconscious, yung personal unconscious, di ba, is sariling experience natin. While yung collective unconscious naman daw, ito yung mga experiences na nanggaling pa sa ancestors natin at napapasa-pasa generation by generation. So it says here that collective unconscious has roots in the ancestral past of the entire species. So may possibility na lahat tayo ay may iisang collective unconscious or pare-parehas ng collective unconscious. Kasi ito ay nanggaling pa deep down sa ating mga kaninu-ninu-ninunuan. So, sa entire species talaga ng human. Sinasabi dito, yung physical contents of the collective unconscious are inherited and passed from one generation to the next as a psychic potential. So, excuse me. So, yung psychic potential, ito yung mga supernatural na hindi natin kayang ipaliwanag, hindi kayang explain ng science kung paano natin siya na-obtain or kung paano natin kung paano ito bumababa sa atin. So parang ano lang siya, innate tendency sa ating sarili. So sinasabi din na yung collective unconscious does not actually refer to inherited ideas, but rather yung human's innate natin or yung tendency to react in a particular way or situation whenever yung experience na na-experience natin stimulates a biologically inherited response tendency. Yung example neto is yung mga first-time mothers. So, di ba? So, ayun nga, yung example ng first-time mother. So, since it is their first time, wala silang background as to kung paano mag-alaga or magmahal ng mga baby na niluwal nila. So, sinasabi din na there are mothers na parang estranged pa sila sa mga baby. Yung, di ba kasi first time nilang nakikita, parang stranger pa yung baby kapag kapapanganak pa lang. Pero, there is this innate tendency sa mga kababaihan na mahalin and alagaan yung baby na iniluwal nila. So sinasabi ng collective unconscious na na-activate yung ating collective unconscious or yung innate capacity or tendency natin na maging mother sa isang bata. At ito ay naggagaling pa sa mga ancestors natin na naka-experience din na maging nanay. So, ah mula pa siya sa kaninu-ninuno natin, so way back pa sa mga ancestors natin na naka-experience maging nanay. Sinasabi na yung collective unconscious needs or nagiging activate siya kapag na-experience na natin yung certain experience na na-experience ng ancestors natin. So, hindi natin malalaman kung meron ba tayong innate mother potential unless na ma-experience na natin siya sa sarili natin. So, hindi na din natin alam kung ano pa yung mga collective unconscious na nasa sa atin or mga napasa sa atin ng ating mga ancestor. Ayun nga, unless na ma-experience natin siya dito sa buhay na to. Sinasabi din ni yung na hindi natin mabibilang actually yung collective unconscious na meron tayo dahil nga sa many aspects or sa sobrang daming typical situation na pwedeng mangyari sa buhay natin. So, kung gaano kadami yung pwedeng scenario, yung typical scenarios or typical situation na pwedeng mangyari sa buhay natin, maaaring ganun din karami yung collective unconscious na meron tayo. So, kapag ka nagpaulit-ulit or pagka naging, paulit-ulit na nangyayari yung collective unconscious na nare-retain na natin siya, this repetition forms to begin or develop some content and to emerge as relatively autonomous archetypes. So, from our collective unconscious, since sinabi ko nga na kapag pinaulit-ulit or nare-retain natin yung yung certain collective unconscious natin, nagma-manifest ito. Kapag na-develop siya ng maayos, nagma-manifest ito into a character. So, ito yung sinasabing the archetypes. So, yung archetypes ay yung mga identity daw within us at tinatawag din itong mga blueprint of experiences from our distant ancestors. So, according to Jung, archetypes are ancient or archaic images that derive from the collective unconscious. So, galing tayo sa collective unconscious, now form into archetypes. So, it is the psychic counterpart of an instinct. And it is not directly presented but when activated. Kaya nga, gaya ng sinabi ko kanina sa collective unconscious, na-activate lamang yung collective unconscious natin kapag na-experience na natin yung certain experiences from our ancestors. Though it expresses through several modes kagaya ng primarily dreams, fantasies, and delusions. So, kapag naging activate na ang ating archetypes, nagiging autonomous personality na to na nakakaapekto na sa ating personality of a person as a whole. So, some of the developed archetypes that are conceptualized are the persona, shadows, anima, animus, great mother, wise old man, hero, and yung highest form ng ating personality, yung self. So, let us now move on sa primary archetypes. So, mag-uumpisa tayo sa surface level ng archetypes, which is the persona or yung sinasabing mask. So, ito daw yung side ng ating personality that we show to the external world. In short, ito yung pagpapanggap na ginagawa natin araw-araw para maitawid lang yung isang araw. So, yung belief na each of us should project a particular role one that society dictates to each of us. So, kahit na sinabi yun, ni Jung na dapat may personality tayong nakikinig or nadidiktahan ng society, sinabi niya din na if we identify too closely sa ating persona or dito sa personality natin na to, we remain unconscious sa ating individuality and are blocked from attaining self-realization. So, ah 'di ba nga nakikinig tayo sa etong personality na to is nadidiktahan ng society. So if we keep on listening or we keep on uh, sumunod or pagka sumusunod tayo ng sumusunod sa kung anong dinidikta ng society natin, nawawala na tayo ng individuality. So, tinatanggap na lang natin kung ano yung sinasabi ng society na parang, ano ba yung gusto ko? Hindi na natin na mamatter yon kapag if we identify too closely with this personality natin na parang wala ka ng sariling identity. Nakikinig ka na lang talaga sa society. So, yung believe that in order for us to be psychologically healthy, we must strike between a balance between the demands of society and what we truly are. Kung ano talaga yung gusto natin. Sinabi niya din na to be oblivious of one's persona is to underestimate the importance of society, but to be unaware of one's deep individuality is to become a society's puppet. So if we underestimate yung etong personality na 'to, parang ang tendency is hindi na natin pinapansin yung society or hindi nagma-matter sa atin yung society. Pero pagka masyado naman tayong nag-dwell dito sa personality na 'to, na persona, nagiging puppet na tayo ng ating society, which where ah, tinatanggap na lang natin yung sinasabi ng ng society. Ang best example dito is yung standard beauty ng ating society nowadays. So, 'di ba ang standard beauty maputi, matangos ang ilong. Eh di kung yun yung standard beauty, eh di dapat magkakamukha na. Wala nang individuality kung lahat tayo eh magpapanggap na lang. So, ayun yung pinaparating ng persona ni Carl Jung. So, the next archetype natin is the shadow. So, contrary naman siya sa persona na pinapakita natin or pinoproject natin sa external world. Si shadow naman, ito yung tinatago natin. Tinatago natin siya kasi hindi natin siya ma-acknowledge na part ng ating personality. So, according to Carl Jung, yung shadow is the archetype of darkness and repression, and it represents the qualities that we do not wish to acknowledge but attempt to hide from ourselves and others. So, yun nga. Hindi natin matanggap na meron tayong ganitong side, meron tayong bad side, meron tayong dark side sa ating personality. But Carl Jung contended that to be whole or to be maging buo yung ating self, we must continually strive to know our shadow, and etong quest na to is actually our first test of courage. So we must identify, we must search, we must identify kung ano nga ba itong personality na to. Ano yung shadow personality natin? Ano yung tinatago nating darkest secret sa ating personality. And then if we actually identify it, kapag na-identify na natin siya, maybe it will be easier for us to acknowledge it kasi naramdaman na natin, nakita natin na meron pala akong ganitong side na hindi natin alam na po-project na pala natin siya sa ating behavior or sa ating personality. So kapagka na-identify na natin ang ating shadows within ourselves, mas madali nating maa-achieve yung sinasabi ni Carl Jung na realization of the shadow. So siguro yung realization of the shadow, ito na yung acknowledge mo na may ganito kang personality, na may ganito kang side, na hindi ka 100% angel, na hindi ka 100% na mabait and clean. Like, we all have the shadow, we all have yung personality na pinaka tinatago natin. And we know it within ourselves, deep within ourselves. Alam natin kung ano yung shadow natin. But we just wish to not acknowledge it kasi hindi natin matanggap na meron tayong side na ganon. Ayun nga, sinabi ni yung na unfortunately, hindi lahat tayo nare-realize yung ating shadow and nagfo-focus lang ang iba sa atin sa brighter personality natin or sa bright side of personality natin na pwede nating i-project or ipakita sa ating external world. Sinabi din ni yung na it is easier to project ang ating dark side of personality sa ibang tao. So actually, sinabi niya din na the more we deny our shadow, the more it becomes powerful. So, the more it becomes powerful, the more na magiging visible siya sa ating personality. So, talagang importante na ma-acknowledge itong shadow na to for us to not manifest it or to not, para hindi siya ah, para once na we acknowledge it, hindi na siya mare-repressed and hindi na natin siya malalabas unconsciously. So if we are not able to face our shadows, mas lalaki actually si persona. So kapag lumaki si persona, hindi na tayo magiging aware sa unconscious natin. Therefore, lalabas na yung ating dark side. Nakikita na nila, it is visible na. And then, hindi na tayo or we cannot be actually psychologically healthy kapag yun yung nangyari. Next, we have the archetypes of the anima and the animus. So, yung actually believe that all people are psychologically bisexual. Hence, meron tayong anima and animus. Yung anima is the feminine side of men, while yung animus is the masculine side of women. Actually, dito sa part na to, medyo sexist si Carl Jung. So, yung anima kasi, yun nga yung sinabi niya na feminine side of men siya. And nilink to ni yung as ito daw yung certain ito yung personality na nagke-create ng moods or ng feelings ng lalaki. So for men before, actually, 'di ba, dati feminist naman talaga lahat. Like kapag babae, puro emotions lang yung iniisip nila, puro irrational thoughts lang yung tumatakbo sa isip nila. And thus this dahil dito, nahihirapan yung mga lalaki na i-accept na may feminine side sila. Parang kasi yung moods and yung emotions na sinasabi ni Jung sa anima is that nagiging vulnerable ang mga lalaki. Dahil nagpapakita sila ng emotions. Dahil nakakaramdam sila ng emotion. And thus, kaya sinasabi ni Jung na itong pag-accept ng mga kalalakihan sa kanilang anima or sa feminine side nila is actually the second test of courage sa personality. So, maraming kalalakihan ang hindi ma-accept na meron silang feminine side and nire-repress nila ito. Like na yung emotions and feelings nila, yung irrational feelings and emotions nila, ginagawa, ine-explain nila in a rational side, a rational explanations para lang hindi sila magtunog vulnerable. And then, we have the animus, the masculine side naman ng women. So, kung yung anima ay sinasabi ni Jung na irrational moods and feelings, yung animus naman is symbolic naman ng thinking and reasoning. So, ang sinasabi lang dito ni Jung na yung masculine side daw or yung animus nating mga kababaihan, yun yung what enables us to think rationally or to think analytically. Sinasabi niya na kung wala tayong animus, hindi tayo makakapag-isip ng maayos. Na magbe-base lamang tayo sa ating moods, sa ating feelings. So, ito actually, yung anima and animus became a controversial part ng theory ni Jung. Next, we have the Great Mother archetype and the Wise Old Man archetype. Actually, these two are derivative lang sa anima and animus. So, parang higher, ano lang sila, higher being ng animus and anima. So, yung Great Mother is yung derivative from the anima, which yung beliefs na pinopossess both men and women. So, sinasabi dito na yung Great Mother has a two opposing forces, yung fertility, nourishment, at saka yung power and destruction. So, 'di ba kanina nabanggit ko sa umpisa na nakita ni Carl Jung yung two sides or personality ng kanyang nanay, which is yung rational and yung mystical side. So dito naman yung Great Mother, sinasabi niya dito na even though kaya ng nanay na iparamdam sa kanyang anak na mahal niya 'to, na nagke-care siya dito, meron ding tendency na kaya niyang iparamdam sa kanyang anak yung, neglect, sa kanyang anak, yung parang hindi siya inaalagaan, ganyan. So, ang sinabi dito ni Carl Jung na yung Great Mother archetype depicts or, symbolizes yung yun nga, yung fertility, nourishment, power, destruction, and it is yung Great Mother is actually often depicted as yung godmother, mother of God, mother of nature, and stepmother or witch. So as we all know, yung mother of nature, yung ayun na lang yung pinakamadaling bigyan ng example is that yung mother of nature, 'di ba? Sobrang ganda niya kapag kalmado siya. Like yung dagat, yung bundok, yung langit. Sobrang ganda niya kapag kalmado siya. Pero once na maging destructive, pwede siyang maging destructive once na may bagyo, may maulan or mahangin, sobrang lakas ng hangin, bagyo, lindol, nagiging destructive siya, 'di ba? So, yun yung sinasabi ni Jung, ayun yung pinaparating niya na sa Great Mother archetype na even though kayang iparamdam ng archetype na ito na she is loving, she is caring, meron pa ring tendency na maging destructive itong archetype na ito. Next, the wise old man archetype. So, kasalungat naman siya ng great mother. So, etong wise old man naman is the archetype of wisdom, meaning, and it actually symbolizes humans' pre-existing knowledge of mysteries of life. So, actually, ang naisip ko ditong example is yung, kilala niyo ba si Tata Lino ng Bubblegum? Parang ganun siguro siya, like, pero ang example is yung ano, si Dumbledore sa ano Harry Potter. Siya yung great example ng wise old man. So, yung wise old man archetype according to Jung is personified in dreams as father, grandfather, teacher, philosopher, guru, doctor, or priest. Pero yun nga yung sinabi ni Jung na sobrang kakaunting tao lang ang nakaka-achieve nitong archetype na 'to, yung wise old man archetype. So, parang ah, hindi siya madalas na-a-achieve ng mga tao kasi sobrang parang higher being niya na yung wise old man since, this, has the wisdom or meaning ng life. Next, we have the hero archetype. So, comes from the word itself na hero, taga-sagip, taga-salba, ganun. Katulad ng mga hero na napapanood natin sa Avengers or sa DC Banyan, etc. So, yung hero archetype is represented in mythology and legends as a powerful person, sometimes God or yung mga taong who fights against great odds to conquer or vanquish evil naman na nagpo-form into dragons, to serpents, monsters, ganyan. So, heroic deeds can be performed only by someone who is vulnerable. So, katulad ni Superman sa Kryptonite. So, may mga kahinaan. So, itong hero archetype natin is yung, yung siguro kagustuhan natin na may magawa tayo for other person or sa sarili natin na may control tayo. Ito yung hero archetype na nagsasabi na we can be greater things kahit na meron tayong kahinaan kahit na meron tayong katulad ng kay Superman na kryptonite. Ah, hindi sinasabi ng theory na 'to na hindi kinakailangang maging perfect kang tao, maging pinakamatapang kang tao to be a hero. So, pinaparatang ng archetype na 'to na yung hero are actually vulnerable persons. So, yung change na gusto nating yung change na pinaglalaban or yung peace na pinaglalaban ng mga hero just like sa mga movies na napapanood natin, kaya din natin siyang gawin sa ating buhay. Yun yung pinaparating ng hero archetype ni Carl Jung. And now, we came here sa highest form ng ating archetype, which is yung self. Ito yung pinaka main goal actually ni Carl Jung na ma-achieve, yung self, which is yung sinabi niya core ng ating personality. So, sinasabi dito na yung self is the most comprehensive of all archetypes. Kasi dito na po pinagsama-sama ang lahat ng archetypes na nabanggit ko kanina. So from persona down to shadow, down to anima, the animus, sa ating great mother, sa ating wise old man, and then sa hero. Lahat yon nagsasama-sama sa self, making it as the archetype of all archetypes. As it pulls the other archetypes and unites them in the process of yung self-realization or individuation na nabanggit ko din kanina or yung the highest form na ng ating self. So, yung belief that each and person possess an inherited tendency to move toward growth, perfection, and completion. So, sa individuation na to, dito na tinatanggap or natanggap na ng tao yung pagka-duality ng kanyang personality. Dito na din nababalanse lahat ng kanyang archetypes and nababalanse na din niya or nakokontrol niya na yung conscious and unconscious thoughts niya. So, sinasabi na kapag na-reach mo na etong stage na ito ng archetypes na to, we can actually, fully live our lives na. Kasi balance na eh. Kaya na nating i-control lahat yung thoughts, yung actions, and yung personality natin. Kilala na natin yung sarili natin kapag dumating na tayo dito sa sa stage na to. But yun nga, hindi siya actually madaling i-achieve. As it, kung papakinggan natin siya parang ang dali-dali lang naman. 'Di ba? Parang ang dali naman ma-achieve niyan. Pero actually, according to yung, it takes a lifetime. Or kung minsan pa nga daw, kulang pa yung lifetime para ma-achieve itong stage ng archetype na to, itong type ng archetype na to. So, uh, napakahirap niyang ma-achieve na pati si yung actually hindi niya na-achieve itong highest form ng self niya or yung self-individuation. So, dito matatanggap na ng tao na siya ay both introverted and extroverted. Dito niya na matatanggap na, ay may bad side pala ako, hindi lang pala ako mabait, ganyan. And to actualize or fully experience yung self, yun nga, we must first overcome yung conscious and unconscious to prevent their persona para mag-dominate sa ating personality. And we need to recognize yung dark sides natin or yung shadow. And ayun nga, kailangan pa natin ng mas malaking courage to master or to accept na to face our anima and our animals. So, yun yung sinasabi ni yung na hindi madali. Kasi talagang challenge or yung kailangan nating malagpasan lahat ng test of courage na nabanggit kanina to achieve etong self or yung individuation. Next, we have here the mandala. So, as an archetype, the self symbolized by a person's idea of perfection and completion and wholeness. Pero yung pinaka-ultimate symbol ng self is yung tinatawag niyong na mandala. So, mandala is depicted as a circle within a square or a square within a circle, or any concentric figure actually. So it represents yung strivings of the collective unconscious for unity, balance, and wholeness. So according to yung mandala raw is the path to the center of individuation. So uh, there are many types ng mandala na nakikita natin. They are usually seen sa mga coloring books ng mga adults or meron din sa mga pang kids. Yung it's like parang flower siya pero nakabilog. Nakikita natin siya usually but we never really actually know kung para saan siya. So, meron pala siyang actually meaning. And yung mandala making or yung mandala drawing was actually a tool for psychotherapy na ginamit ni Carl Jung. So, hindi lang actually yung mga patient niya yung gumagawa, pero pati rin si Carl Jung, he usually make mandala every day para makonect niya yung kanyang outer and inner world. So, yung mandala, usually, kadalasan siya, nakikita natin siya na bilog. And yung believes na sacred place, yung bilog na yon ng ating self. So, he also believed na making mandalas on ourselves makes it easier for us to get to know ourselves better. So, yung sa mandala, ito yung nakikita nyo sa inyong screen, yung may mga letters. Yung naka-center dyan, or yung core ng manda, ay yung core is the core of our personality, yung self. Ayan. Yung top part naman ng mandala natin represents the outer world, while yung uh, bottom half naman represents our inner world. So, yung outer world, nandito yung consciousness, yung ego, and yung persona. While yung sa inner naman natin, nandito yung shadow, anima, animus, and pati na rin yung ating collective unconscious. So, kung titingnan natin, yung top is yung usually connected to reality and yung ating pinakikita sa external world, while uh, yung inner naman natin, ito yung connection natin deep within ourselves na. So, makikita nyo rin sa screen yung tatlong painting ng mandala. These are actually a painting of mga clients ni Carl Jung. Iba-iba silang client. So, yung una, makikita ninyo na ginamit sa mandala drawing yung faces ng moon. Ayan, sa pangalawa naman, you can see na meron na siyang sun. While yung sa pangatlo naman, meron siyang sun and moon, but yung sun is actually setting. So, yung pangatlong painting was actually drawn by his client before passing away. Ewan ko kung I'm not sure if it's days or weeks before passing ng client na yon. So, uh, ginamit ni Carl Jung yung mandala as a tool for psychotherapy, which na-connect din dito yung meanings ng color. Meron din siya. So, ayan yung mandala. So, next topic natin sa theory ni Carl Jung is yung dynamics of personality. So, nakapaloob pa din siya sa analytical psychology. So, yung dynamic personality according to Jung, dito niya sinabi na he believes that our behaviors are influenced by both of our past experiences and our future goals. And bukod sa duality, dominant din yung theme ng balance sa theory ni Carl Jung. So, we have here yung causality and yung teleology. So, yung causality suggests that current events stem from our past experiences, while yung teleology naman suggests that these events are driven by our future goals and aspiration to shape a person's destiny. So, While Freud relied heavily sa causal viewpoint para i-explain yung behavior ng adults in terms of childhood memory, early childhood memories natin, criticize yun ni Jung kasi sabi niya masyado daw na one-sided yung explanation ni Freud, and sinabi din ni Carl Jung na yung past experiences or yung causal viewpoint na ginagamit ni Freud is actually cannot explain all the motivations para maging ganito tayo or para mabuo yung ating personality. While si Adler naman, naniniwala siya na we are motivated by conscious and unconscious perception of fictional goals. Pero yun nga yung sabi ni Jung, though hindi masyadong criticize ni Jung si Adler, kagaya ng pag-criticize niya kay Freud, pero in-insist ni Carl Jung na yung human behavior daw is shaped by both of causal and teleology, and kinakailangan na balance itong dalawang ito. So, next we have the progression and regression. So, uh, yung progression, ito yung adaptation to the outside world that involves the outward flow of our psychic energy. So, sa progression, pa-outward or palabas yung ating at palabas sa ating outer world. While yung regression naman is yung adaptation to the inner world that relies on a backward naman yung flow ng psychic energy or pabalik sa atin. So to put it in a layman's term, yung progression focuses siya sa more on external world. Kaya pa-outward yung flow ng ating psychic energy. So sinasabing yung peak ng progression natin is nasa midlife age natin. Pero from then on, magre-regress na tayo. So, yung regression naman is more on ano siya, internal world na. So, dito yung parang nagre-reflect na tayo sa buhay natin, sa mga desisyon na ginagawa or gagawin natin. Kung baga yung goal na ng regression is to slow things down and take a step back to achieve or maintain yung inner peace na meron tayo. And now we move on sa psychological types. So, yung psychological types, this serves as the foundation for Jung's theory of personality, temperament, and human behavior. So, nakapaloob sa psychological types yung attitudes and functions. So, maunahin natin yung attitudes. So, yung attitudes is a predisposition to act or react in a characteristic direction. Or, ito daw yung way to orient ourselves sa ating external world. Ito din yung tinatawag ni Carl Jung na libido. Kung natatandaan nyo, kay Freud, yung libido is the sexual energy, but for Carl Jung naman, yung libido is a general psychic energy. So we have here the two types of the attitude, yung introversion and extroversion. So sa type na ito, yung sa introversion, sa type na to, mas nagmamatter sa kanila yung subjective perspective, kaya inward yung psychic energy. So, yung introversion is the turning inward of psychic energy with an orientation toward the subject. So, introverts are tuned into their inner world, kaya subjective, with all its biases, fantasies, dreams, and individualized perceptions. So, yung introverted people daw tend to observe everything and then interpret it on their own. They also tend to do not care sa kung ano yung itsura or kung ano yung information, but they only care on how they will interpret it on their own world or in their own perspective. Yun yung focus ng introversion. In contrary naman sa introversion, yung extraversion. So, yung extraversion naman focuses more on the external world than their inner world. So, extroversion is the attitude distinguished by turning outward of psychic energy so that a person is oriented toward the objective and away from the subjective. So, sila yung objective kung mag-isip. And since outward yung energy nila, they tend to gain energy, more energy kapag ka nasa may kasama silang mga tao or maraming tao sa paligid nila. Kasi yun din yung way nila ng pag-release ng energy nila. But Carl Jung said na walang purely introvert or extroverted na tao. Lahat tayo is nasa gitna. Meron tayong side na introvert and extrovert. Lumalabas yung pagka-introvert or extrovert natin base daw sa situation ng or happening sa life natin. Yung halimbawa dito is yung lumalabas yung pagka-extrovert natin kapag ang pinag-uusapan is yung mga gusto nating topic, yung mga talagang ah, puwede tayong magdaldal ng magdaldal. While yung introversion naman lumalabas siya kapagka hindi natin masyadong kilala yung group of people na kasama natin or it is our first time na ma-meet yung mga taong yun. So, sabi ni Carl yung hindi puwede or hindi nasu-sure na 100% introvert or extroverted ang isang tao. And now we have the functions. So yung functions, ito daw yung way natin to see and judge the informations na nakakalap natin. It is important to take note or to remember na yung informations is baliwala or useless kapag hindi natin siya mapaprocess ng maayos. So we have the two types of functions, which is the rational and irrational functions. So yung rational function, it is a descriptive of thoughts, feelings, and actions that accord with reason. So ito yung laging naghahanap ng reasons. An attitude based on objective values established by practical experiences. While yung irrational functions naman, hindi ito ginagamitan ng logical reasonings and they are not actually grounded sa reasonings or hindi na nagbe-base sa facts or logical reasoning. So, yung first function natin is yung thinking. So, yung sabi dito, yung thinking is a logical intellectual activity that produces a chain of ideas. So, sa thinking, ito yung pag-judge natin ng information via logical process. So, sa extroverted thinking muna tayo. Ito yung sa extroverted thinking people, sila yung mga nagre-rely sa facts from the senses and sila yung nagfa-follow din sa external standards. While yung introverted thinking people naman sila ay nagbabase more on sa personal beliefs and not from the external facts gaya ng extroverted thinking. Yung example sa extroverted thinking is yung mga engineers and mathematicians. So, yung may mga extroverted thinking, sila ay usually tied to a repression ng kanilang feelings in which ito ay namamanifest in various ways gaya ng pag-neglect sa kanilang personal interest para lang mag-fit in or maging in favor sa ideal or they can be oversensitive people that can lead to a lack of sympathy. While yung sa introverted thinking naman, ito yung mga inventors and philosophers. So, sa introverted thinking, mas binavalue nila yung subjective ideas than the objective ones. So, they tend to seek depth or yung lalim than yung breadth or yung surface level lang na knowledge. But the problem is that they struggle to connect their thinking sa reality. Next is our feelings. So, sinasabing yung feelings natin is more fluid than thinking and it doesn't actually have a logical step-by-step process na sinusundan. So, sabi niyo yung feeling daw is a term na ginamit niya to describe the process of evaluating an idea or an event. Yung feeling daw is the evaluation of every conscious activity, even those valued as indifferent. So take note po na magkaiba ang feeling sa emotion, though kinakailangan ng feeling yung emotion, magkaiba pa din sila. So yung emotion daw ay nakikitaan ng physical reaction or manifestation, while yung feelings naman has no physical or tangible physiological manifestation. And it starts sa extroverted feeling. Ito yung mga taong nagbe-base sa objective information kesa sa personal emotions nila. Ito yung mga taong sumusunod sa societal norms and values, pero kapag ka masyado na nilang vinalue or they are too focused sa external world nila, they usually is nawawalan sila ng personal aspect of feeling. Kaya nagiging detached and reliable yung mga people na to. And that can lead to being inconsistent or even exaggerated sa kanilang mga emotions. While si introverted feeling person naman ay nagbe-base sa kanilang judgment primarily on subjective perceptions rather than the objective facts. So, sinasabing mahirap daw maintindihan ng mga introverted feeling people kasi they prioritize yung individual's emotions nila and they are less expressive kesa sa extroverted ones. So, they value personal emotions over external facts which are often hard to communicate with the other. So, sinasabi din na usually nakikita itong type na 'to sa mga women. So kadalasan, they tend to hide their emotions and motivations kaya they tend to be distant or indifferent sa ibang tao. Next is sensing. So, sensing is a bodily function that transmits physical stimuli to perceptual consciousness, forming perceptions as absolute elementary knowledge within each person without reliance on logical thinking or feeling. So, yung sensing, ito daw yung ating way of perceiving things using ang ating five senses in observing our reality. So, sensing is an irrational function pero yung extroverted sensing sensation ay both impacted or nai-impact siya by the objective ng parehong objective and subjective. So, if yung rational function is prioritized, which is yung nauna nating natakal na feeling and thinking, naso-suppress si subjective sensing. Pero, if sensation or si sensing is prioritized, it has a strong impact na maaaring mag-lead to a strong connections to objects that evokes sensation. So, sensation is valued based doon sa intensity or strength ng sensation na kaya netong ibigay. So, they prioritize concrete experiences, ang mga extroverted sensing, they prioritize concrete experiences and they often seek sensation. So, they also look for enjoyment and yung kanilang morality is nagbe-base sa kanilang enjoyment. So, hindi sila deep thinker being in rational action, function, but they think objective facts. Pero, yung pag-focus nila, masyado sa sensation, nagmumukha na silang pleasure seekers, which can lead to a repressed unconscious material and superstitions. Sa introverted sensing naman, they prioritize the individual's personal experiences and interpretation than the objective reality. So they focuses on subjective experiences of sensations rather than yung objective observations na pwedeng mag-lead into unpredictable behavior and which they can also struggle to communicate and understand their own thoughts and emotions at nagre-rely lamang sila sa archaic expressions at yung perception nila is influenced by the collective unconscious. Kaya nagiging distorted yung view nila sa reality. Next, we have the intuiting or intuitive. So, ito na yung last sa ating functions, sa types ng function. So, intuiting involves perception beyond the workings of consciousness. So, to clarify, magkaiba po yung sensing or yung sensation kanina dito and itong intuition or intuiting. So, tatandaan na yung sensation uses the five senses while yung intuiting naman, according to yung is a perception by way or means of the unconscious. So, intuition's main purpose is to find relations and conditions na maaaring na-miss or nakaligtaan ng ibang functions. So, kapag prioritize natin si intuition, nasosurpress ang ating thinking, feeling, and sensing, lalong-lalo na si sensing, as it interferes sa clarity ni intuition. So, the objects are valuable for extroverted intuition only if they offer new possibilities. Kasi uhaw si extroverted intuitive sa new possibilities. And willing yung mga people na with this thinking to sacrifice everything to a new possibility or opportunities. Ito yung mga taong madaling mag-embrace ng new ideas and objects, but they usually abandon them kapag may bago na silang possibilities or meron ng limit yung or nalimitahan na yung possibilities ng objects na yon. Though nakabase yung moral nila sa loyalty nila according to their views, but they still lacks proper judgment, kaya often than not they waste their life chasing new opportunities. Next is the introverted intuitive people. Ito yung sila yung mga concerned sa archetypes from our collective unconscious. So, they can bring new perspectives to life as yung archetypes nga yung binabasehan nila. So, itong type na to prioritizes inner imagination that causes their disconnection to reality. So, they are concerned sa kanilang potentialities, possibilities, and probabilities ng kanilang unconscious and sa perception of one's experience as a whole. Though, creative and imaginative tong mga taong to, ang yung focus nila sa kanilang inner world can sometimes lead them to neglect external reality and having problems then sa communications and understanding sa iba't ibang perspective, which can be actually a hindrance in forming a relationship with other people. So, from four functions and two attitudes na tinakal natin kanina, we can finally form the 8 Jungian type. So, etong 8 Jungian type actually is yung naging basehan ng MBTI test, yung personality test na nakikita natin sa internet. So, sinasabing mas healthy daw ang tao or ang isang ang person kapag lahat ng ito ay na-develop niya. Since kapag na-develop niya itong lahat ng to, magiging well-rounded siya. So, pwede niyang i-adjust yung personality niya kapag may kausap siyang iba't ibang tao. But, unfortunately, most of people only cultivate one function. Kaya yun na yung nagiging dominant function nila. But, yung person na na-achieve na yung self-realization or individuation, they actually have cultivated their four functions and they are also highly developed as well. So, yung mga naka-reach lamang ng self-individuation or yung self-realization, sila lamang yung mga nakabuo ng apat na to, which they already did master kapag nangyari yon. And now, dito na tayo sa stages of development ni Carl Jung. So, Actually, itong stages of development niya was actually written in a short essay form. So, yung divided life into four stages, ang childhood, youth, middle life, or yung midlife, and yung old age. So, he compared yung stages ng development sa journey ng sun o ng araw sa sky. So, sinabi niya na yung early morning sun is yung childhood. Full on potential pero still lacking in brilliance or yung consciousness. Yung sun, uh, symbolizes the consciousness. So, yung childhood, ito yung period of unconsciousness. So, ayon kay yung hindi pa conscious sa problems yung nasa ganitong age, di pa sila conscious sa problems ng mundo as they are still dependent sa kanilang mga caregiver. So, yung categorized childhood into three substages which are the anarchic, monarchic, and dualistic. Sa anarchic, this is where children experience chaotic and sporadic consciousness with islands of consciousness. So, sa anarchic, nabubuo pa lamang yung island of consciousness. So, hindi pa siya fully working. Then, slowly, sa monarchic naman, where children develop the ego and begin logical thinking, uh, slowly lumalaki na yung island of consciousness pero inhabited pa ito ng primitive ego. So, very subjective sila sa phase na to and egoistic pa yung mga bata and feeling nila yung everything revolves around them. While sa dualistic phase naman where children divide the ego into objective and subjective, they're recognizing themselves as separate individuals. Sa dualistic phase, nabuo na yung objective and they sa objective and subjective and they are aware na sa kanilang existence. Kaya ito sinasabing ito yung phase ng I phase, yung laging I want this, I want that, ganon. Yung naka-center pa din yung kanilang ego sa kanilang sarili. Next is the youth and middle life. So, nandito na tayo sa adulthood. So, yung adulthood, conscious na tayo sa problems na prevalent sa ating buhay. Both youth and middle life are in the adulthood stage. So, let's first start sa youth. So, the period from puberty until midlife. So, in this stage, more outside focus na tayo, di katulad kanina sa childhood phase na childhood stage na sarili lang nila yung iniisip nila. Dito din nagsisimula yung pagkakaroon ng own problems. And dito na din tayo nagigain ng more focus para makagain din ng ating own independence. So, sa youth stage, it is it is expected for us to be more active so that we will have the mastery of our consciousness kasi kadalasan sa hindi pagiging active sa age na to or sa stage ng youth, nabubuo later on yung tinatawag nating regrets sa buhay at yung mga regrets sa buhay na yon will haunt us pagdating ng ating middle life or midlife. So sinasabing sa youth stage daw natin is yung pinakamadaming pinagdadaanan ang human because having the consciousness we have, uh, we are now aware na life can actually shatter our childhood dreams, especially kung masyado tayong kumapit sa unrealistic na expectations na sinet natin sa sarili natin. So, yung main challenge ng stage na ito is yung resistance na iiwanan na natin yung childlike state of consciousness. Pero, yun nga, because of the consciousness natin sa age ng youth, we are fully aware na mas nakakatakot yung maging stagnant or yung hindi na tayo mag-move forward or mag-grow. So, wala tayong choice kundi ang umusad. So, sa youth din natin, nade-develop yung nade-develop na yung ating higher and wider consciousness. But the sad reality is that our nature and society often pushes us to focus on making achievements rather than our personal growth. So, since mas pinahahalagahan ng society yung achievement and yung usefulness kesa sa personal development. So, may naalala lang akong isang TikTok video actually, yung nanay yon yung nagkukwento na sinabi daw ng anak niya na Mama, nakakatakot pala na maging useless sa society na kailangan laging useful ka. Which actually fits dito sa youth, yung kagustuhan nating maging may silbi para kasing kasalanan kapag wala kang silbi sa age na 'to. So, norm na sa age na 'to na i-embrace yung practicality. Kaya wala tayong ibang choice o walang ibang choice ang iba but to settle kung ano yung attainable, leaving behind our other potentialities and giving up the parts of ourselves. So sometimes na-overlook natin na yung achieving social success can actually come at the cost of diminished individuality. So sa kaka-focus natin nowadays sa pagkuha ng achievement, nawawalan na tayo ng individuality. So sinabi ni Yung na yun din yung challenge ng stage na ito. Kaya mas minsan mas prone yung age na to sa mental health issues. Next, we have the middle life or midlife. Dito na magsa-start actually yung second half ng ating life or ng buhay. At ito'y tinatawag din ni Carl Jung na afternoon of life. So, it is actually important to acknowledge na itong second half of life is not or may not be the continuation of the first half of life. So, yung midlife, yung believe na ito'y nagbibigin around 35 to 40 years old. So, dito na tayo nagsastart mag-decline in social and moral values. So, maaaring dito sa stage na to, maaaring yung mga values and ideas na pinanghawakan at pinahalagahan natin nung youth stage tayo ay may no longer apply. And yung truths din sa youth natin can become a lie sa stage na ito. So, we have to also acknowledge that the second half of life has its own meaning and significance kung yung ating morning life, yung childhood hanggang youth, focuses on the individual development, family and societal contributions naman, yung afternoon life natin, is more related sa culture and our personal growth na uh, hinihingi ng ating youth stage. And now, nandito na tayo sa old age. Papalapit na tayo ng papalapit sa katapusan ng buhay. And sa old age, actually, yung mga old age people dati, or yung mga nasa primitive lives, yung mga ating ancestors, yung mga old age people are often the custodian of wisdoms, secrets, laws, and they are actually the ones that preserves the cultural heritage of their communities. Pero sa present age natin ngayon, older people nowadays competes sa younger generation or younger individuals as they have the difficulty in accepting na nasa old age na sila, or they have a difficulty finding a new goals to achieve. So they view aging as a diminishment of life dahil sa mga unsatisfied desires and unfulfilled potentials nila sa in the past. So nabanggit ko kanina sa youth, na maaaring kapag hindi natin na-utilize or na-live fully yung ating youth, marami tayong magiging regrets in the later as we grow older pa. So, yung sinabing regrets na yon hanggang old age hahabulin tayo nun kapag hindi natin na-live fully yung ating youth. And maaaring mawala tayo sa mundong itong malungkot. Ganun. So, dito sa old age, sinasabing bumabalik na ulit tayo sa ating ah, pagka-baby or yung childhood behavior na. And we know naman na after this is the death na. So, yung believe na yung death is the goal of life. And life's fulfillment only occurs when death is seen in life. So, naniniwala si Jung na hindi dapat matakot ang mga tao sa death since naniniwala din siya na na meron pang afterlife after ng death. Next is the self-realization or the psychological rebirth according kay Carl Jung. As I have mentioned sa unang part ng lesson na to, yung self-realization or yung individuation is makakamit lang natin siya kapag napagsama-sama na natin ang archetypes, ang all archetypes or all personality natin. So, nabubuo lang natin yung self or yung center of our personality ang ating self kapag natutunan na nating ma-accept si shadow, mabalance si persona, ma-utilize si hero, ma-acknowledge si animus and si anima, and so on. So, yung self-realization or individuation, ang sabi ni Jung is, ito ay lifelong journey. So, hindi siya madali. And there is actually a big chance. Mas malaki yung chance na mawala tayo sa mundong to na hindi natin yun na-achieve kesa sa ma-achieve natin to. So, ganun siya kahirap i-attain, ganun siya kahirap ma-achieve. And now, let's tackle yung mga methods of investigations naman na ginamit ni Carl Jung. So, Jung looked beyond psychology in his research for data to build his conception of humanity. He ventured into the fields of sociology, history, anthropology, biology, physics, philology, religion, mythology, and philosophy. Because because he believes that if we want to know more about humans, yung psychology daw is just one side story. And we have to know yung kabuuan nito sa iba pang perspective or studies. So, isa sa ginamit ni Jung na method is the word association test. So, to he used it to know more about the complexes of a person o yung client niya. So, sa test na to, magbibigay si Jung ng isang word and his client will speak the first thing na naisip niya after hearing yung word na sinabi ni Jung. And from then on, Jung will observe his client's actions and yung kanyang mga sasabihin. Dito na tayo sa dream analysis ni Carl Jung. So, Jung believed that people use symbols to represent a variety of concepts, not merely sexual ones like Freud, to try to comprehend the innumerable things beyond the range of the human understanding. So, according to Jung, we live in our dreams and we do not live just only day. So, maski sa panaginip daw natin is connected yon sa ating living. So, we have the dream analysis. So, though nag-agree si Carl Jung sa kay Freud na nagsasabing yung dreams daw natin came from our unconscious and that meron itong mga meaning that is expressed in symbolic form. Nag-agree si Carl Jung doon, pero yung dream interpretation ni Carl Jung is far different sa interpretation ng dreams ni Freud. He said that Carl Jung said that na yung ating mga dreams are yung window of our conscious minds. Actually, yung archetypes, if I'm not mistaken, nabanggit din siya sa source. Yung archetypes, lahat ng archetypes is nanggaling din or lumabas din sa panaginip or sa dreams ni Carl Jung. And yun yung naging base or yung naging inspiration niya to write yung archetypes. Next, we have the active imagination. So this method requires a person to begin with a impression or a dream image, vision, picture, or fantasy. So sa active imagination naman, same sila ng kaunti sa dream analysis pero sa active imagination kasi fully awake yung client na nagkukwento sa kung ano yung pumapasok sa isip niyang vision, um, any vision na na pumapasok sa isip niya, pinapa-describe or pinapa-drawing ni Carl Jung yon. So, sa active imagination actually enables individuals to uncover archetypal images from our unconscious mind. So, enabling them to better understand their collective and personal unconscious and to overcome resistance to open the communication. So, yung active imagination is uh, sinasabi ng mga client kung ano yung pumapasok na vision sa kanilang isip and pinagfo-focus sila ni yung until yung image na yon begins to move. Ganon yung method niya sa active imagination. And last sa methods na ginamit ni Jung is yung psychotherapy. So, in psychotherapy, yung identified the four basic approaches sa therapy. So, representing the four developmental stages in the history of the psychotherapy. So, yung first stage is the confession of a pathogenic secret, which involves confessing a pathogenic secret. It is effective for patients who simply need to share their secrets. So, sa first stage na to, ito yung sinabi ni yung na parang casual lang yung pag-uusap or parang mag-friend lang sila ng client niya na nagtatanong na, how are you? Ganyan. Ah, ang way niya ng dito sa first stage na to is like, mapakwento niya sa kanyang client kung ano ba yung nagbabother sa kanya. Next, the second stage involves the interpretation. So, explanation and elucidation. It gives the patients insights into the causes of their neurosis, but may still leave them incapable of solving social problems. Yung neurosis na sinabi dito, ito is yung actually yung term niya ngayon is yung mental illnesses. So, it is a mental condition that is not caused by organic diseases involving symptoms of stress. Ito yung depression, anxiety, obsessive behavior. Ayun yung mga mental illnesses nowadays. And yung third stage ng psychotherapy is yung education. So, the third stage, therefore, is the approach adopted by Adler and includes the education of patients as social beings. So, unfortunately, says Jung, this approach often leaves patients merely socially well adjusted. So, to go beyond or kung may, 'di ba sinabi apat siya. So actually yung pang-apat niya is yung transformation. So by transformation ang minimin ni yung dito is that yung therapist din daw must go first sa sa transformation. So hindi lamang yung client yung nagta-transform but also yung kanyang yung mga therapist din. So, this fourth stage is especially employed with patients who are in the second half of their life na. So, yung kanina ay nasa middle life na. So, and who are concerned with realizations of their inner self. So, only after transformation and an established philosophy of life is the therapist is able to help the patients move toward individuation, wholeness, or self-realization. So sinasabi na yung sa transformation siguro dito niya na din nilagay yung individuation. So usually hanggang 3 stages lamang yung kanyang nagagawa kasi I don't think nabanggit na na-reach hindi din ata na-reach ni Carl yung individuation or yung self-realization na tinatawag niya. Kaya hanggang 3 stages lang ang psychotherapy. And now, na tayo sa last part ng aking report. So, yung concept of humanity ni Carl Jung. So, Jung's view on humanity were neither pessimistic or optimistic. It's neither deterministic nor purposive as he saw humans as a complex beings with many opposing poles. So, Jung's approach to humanity is complex, rejecting simplistic categorization. So, he believed that that individuals are motivated by a combination of conscious thoughts, personal unconscious imagery, and ancestral memory traces, which are impacted by both causal and teleological elements. So, Jung's theory leans toward biological aspects over social influences, emphasizing the profound similarities among cultures and individuals with limited attention to specific social practices. So, as you can see naman sa report, kung nakinig kayo or napanood nyo ng maayos, is that napaka-complex ng study or ng theory ng analytical psychology ni Carl Jung because napaka-complex din naman ng personality ng mga tao. So, naisip ni Carl Jung na hindi nga ma-explain sa sobrang simpleng way lang ng yung personality ng tao. So, I think doon na magtatapos ang aking report. And if umabot ka dito hanggang sa dulo, maraming maraming salamat sa pagsama sa akin. And I hope na may takeaways kayo sa aking report. Thank you!